Mike.
Okay. Did you hear that, Marcus? Yeah.
Mic check. Can you hear that?
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, 2. And I'm just going to leave them open. Do you want them on? No, I don't want them on.
Mic check.
Okay. We're all working. Okay. 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 There's one mic that's always on the instructor station. All right. So I'll just go sit in the booth and wait. Okay. And then back to the stage. Yeah. Okay.
The lavalier.
Okay.
Okay, which is test. Where is it?
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thanks. Yeah. Bye.
Was there a lavalier among the ones you tested?
I only tested these mics
Right,
here,
that's what I thought.
and I turned them back off,
Yep,
but they're
that's
ready to
right.
just flick them on and use them.
We need a lavalier too.
And I see that there's 2 bags.
The one might be up with with Amira.
That's a bummer. I don't
Okay,
see
I'm
them.
gonna go.
What's that? Has one now.
case before you start.
Test.
Yes. Okay. So we'll be doing like the last thing is an introduction of them, and when we do that, then we need to move this stuff. So. Yep. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. just gonna, I mean, we could.
Were there updates or changes?
No. So
I know
I'm assuming that
technology is supposed to be working.
it is. I tried. I mean,
You did try?
So but I
The
haven't
only
done
thing we need
this.
to queue up.
I mean, we've got signals on here. You know, so oh, there was. Let's see if there is a cancellation.
There's one today, but we had that one.
Yeah, yeah, and it's in here. So it's in our notes. You're saying it.
I know.
So I can. I'll take the thing when you're talking because you got a lot of slides.
Directions.
Yeah. So I'll just take responsibility for that.
That would be great. And you're gonna do the recap.
I am gonna do the recap. It's like, you know. I mean, on the one hand, I'm
Do you
happy
do
to
it
do
off the top of your head, kind of,
Well, I
or
go home
do
and,
you just
you know,
come up with?
I absolutely am not doing it off the top of my head.
Okay, I'm thinking.
No,
wow.
no, it's written out. No, I mean, go home at night, but you know, after a long day, the last thing we really feel like doing is sitting down and trying to draft up something that summarizes keynote presenters. But
This might work best today. Interesting. I was thinking about the communication pieces yesterday, and I know we'll have a recap meeting, but when I was a delegate, they used the WhatsApp. Have you heard of that?
yeah,
Yeah. Just so that we're all on board with the same things, and not that you and I would even probably be paying attention to that if we were here, but that somehow the front of the room, like William would know what's happening in the back.
oh yeah, they could use that,
That
to
we could all
communicate.
communicate.
So you wouldn't have to be doing that.
The back and forth.
I
And
mean, it's
like,
probably
I
good
didn't know.
exercise for them, but still, it's a lot of running up and down the steps.
In delay, like how do you know to go up the steps? And
Yeah. No, that's an idea. Internal
just
communication.
an internal
Yeah.
piece to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Somehow. All mics are battery. Who's our stage person today? Do we have someone or no?
There's some guy running. Oh, but Brian, right? No, Jason. What's
I don't know.
our front guy?
Brian.
Brian. No, not Brian Ball. No. Younger African American young guy who's been at our front meeting.
Go to your
think it's
meetings and I go
Jason.
to Becky's meetings.
I think it's Jason. Anyway,
Jason,
he's
okay.
the one that's going to help us move this.
Oh, yes.
He's down here.
Yes,
I
okay.
think it's Jason. We have water.
I've got water that's sitting over here. What is this table for Amira? Must be.
I don't think so. I think we're going to need to move that.
We want to move it just in the corner.
Well, he's got stuff on that side. They might be
I think she's using those boxes and she's going to pull out the
right. She's gonna move stuff on. I think we basically need to clear that. Leave it and then clear it. So, and you can help me remember this. I made a note here. When we're done and after we do this, the last thing you can do is, what you want to do is take your bottle there and roll it to that door and give it to Susan.
Okay. Sure.
They'll be on the other side, and that's also their cue. We're
Get
done,
ready.
and then they can come in.
Okay. Who's introducing her?
You are.
I am. Okay, so that makes sense. So as I'm doing, I'll go over and change.
So,
Perfect. Okay.
that's it. Yeah.
That's the thanks. Yeah. So I'll just do this in just a moment, and then I'll walk over there.
Yep.
If I forget, nudge me or just do this and I'll go, oh yeah. Actually, I can write it, nudge me. Go over there. What are you bugging me for? Okay. Yeah, Mike to Susie. It's Susie, right? Stage left. All right. That should make sense. You're gonna sit on that side.
Yep.
This is not my comfortable side because
Oh,
it's.
yeah? No?
Yeah, I prefer this. I don't know why.
Well, I noticed I have the wall to lean on.
Yeah, I don't like
This stuff
standing just out.
You're more vulnerable.
Exactly. I love that.
So this is on. One. Yep.
I'm not yet. This works. Password. We're good.
There's our man with the hat.
Do you know his name? Oh, he's got a name tag on that side. It's turned around. And he knows when to come over?
What's that? No, he's good. He's in.
Okay. And I will. Congested, but not congested. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You got a little bit in your throat and
Just,
stuff. I don't have a cold, but I can feel like
I'm better.
my pipe is
something in there.
What's the reading on whether green shirts can be in here or not?
Oh,
You think it's gonna fill up?
no, I don't think so. I mean, claim your status as a senior.
Yes,
We'll grab
yesterday
a spot.
I ended up finding a job so that I could be in here.
Yeah, no, I think you're fine.
Okay.
Well, I just want to show you for Saturday. I don't think there was that many people last year.
No, it wasn't. It was a little bit emptier. So that's good to see.
Yeah.
Where's Virgil? Here he comes.
After I talk, it'll be fine.
Have your water ready. Lubrication. All right, I'm gonna get us going here, because people will be drifting in. Ready?
Ready?
Good morning. We are about to start, so if you're coming in, if you could grab a spot, we'd very much appreciate that. Welcome to this second and last day of the 2019 annual Overcoming Racism Conference. We are your FREC MCs. I am Tim.
And I'm Deb. We are glad you're here for this morning's performance and discussion, followed by your choice of afternoon workshop sessions. In addition to the grounding for our opening ceremony, we remind you to reach out to each other to talk, listen, and to learn. If anything that you experience today or hear makes you uncomfortable, please support one another by talking about it, rather than allowing your feelings or yourself to be invisible or disconnected.
With gratitude to the Dakota people, on whose homeland we stand, we again begin the second day of the 2019 Overcoming Racism Conference with the drum, with Virgil Mountain and Midwakaton Sioux singers and today dancer, whom I shall introduce in a moment. The drum is the heartbeat of Mother Earth. The drum beats, and the beats of human hearts, when once aligned, flow with the rhythm of all of life, in meter with the universe and the sustaining heart of the Creator. For the Dakota people, the beat of the drum is a healer, transformer, transmitter of spiritual language messages. The drum unites us all here into one heart, one being. The repetitions within the song signify attention to the sacred directions, east, south, west, and north. For some of us, the drum is a relative, a grandfather, to whom we listen with respect. In reverence, on hearing the drum, the heartbeat of Mother Earth, we invite all who are here, who are able, to stand, and if you have a hat on, please remove it. It is now my honor to introduce Virgil Mountain and the Midwakaton Sioux Singers.
Bonjour, welcome, Bindigan. Indigenakash Name Kwe Mukwado. My name is Shannon Tim, as an American name. I am an enrolled member of the White Earth Nation. I am a pillager band from Cass Lake. And I also would like to remind people that we are also honoring right now the Trail of Terror, which is a historical trauma that has been placed on our Shinabi people from the Great Northern and the Wisconsin coming down through Canada. At this time of year, we should always kind of research and get information on that. I am a jingle dancer, and I take my responsibility in this dress very seriously. The dress that I have on currently today, I made back in June. I make all my dresses, and this one is to honor my 10th year of sobriety. For me, thank you. For me, sobriety and prayer is my lifestyle. Back January 20th of 2018, I lost my stepdaughter, Wakia Waste Wei, and she was a Dakota 38 rider, a water protector, and so much more. She stood on the front lines of Standing Rock for our Dakota people. She took the 217-mile, I believe it is, ride with the Dakota 38 riders. She's been on the water walks, Mini Wachoni, Water is Life. So today, I've been doing this conference since 2013, and this year I had to give it up due to some family issues with my father, and I passed everything over to Virgil. I hope it was easy, Becky. And then, but I did decide to come and dance, and today I am dancing for my daughter, Benincia Kwe. I'm dancing for Wakia Waste Wee. I'm dancing for my grandson. And I'm gonna dance for my father. When I dance in this dress, I dance for prayer. I have a yellow scarf that is in memory of Wakian. And what we've done is we've passed this through Indian country, and we have women and young women who are standing up and honoring sobriety. And when we are at our cultural powwows, people that are at the powwow, and if they're struggling or if somebody wants to take them to the 49er after, they know that they can come and be safe with one of us, the yellow prayer scarf carriers, and you're welcome to look it up on the Star Tribune. I worked with Chris, one of the reporters, and my story and Virgil's story ran 6 weeks straight, #1 story, and it went international. So you would just Google yellow prayer scarf, and feel free to look it up. But we're doing good work, and thank you, miigwech, chi miigwech.
Good morning. Me take api. Lena tatanka akichita he me tam. Akema kasitom ne me take asa chalo. Chonshaya api oyate emata hado acha. Naku akichita twahe emata hado acha. And what I said was kind of a protocol. Introduced myself as Tatanka Akichita. My name is Buffalo Warrior. And I come from the Chanshayapi. Oh, by the way, you guys can sit down if you like. And kind of what I said there in our own language, our Dakota language, was I introduced myself. My name is Buffalo Warrior, and that I come from the Chanshayapi, the Redwood people down in the Lower Sioux Reservation, and that I also come from a warrior family. My great grandfather walks under sacred stone in Ichiapi. He was Little Crow's war chief during around the 1862 area. So what I said in my language is that I also come from Akichita Tuahe, a warrior family. Our name that we carry, Black Lance, comes from the medicine that this war chief carried at that time. It was a medicine much like our Oglala relative, Crazy Horse. It was a medicine that could make him disappear in battle, and that none of the enemy could not see him. And so when he became invisible, the lance, the spear that he carried, was undetectable by our enemies. And so it evolved into Black Lance. In other words, it is something that they cannot see because of the medicine that my great grandfather carried. I want to thank everybody who is doing this, because us as Dakota people, as the original landlords of this piece of the Western Hemisphere, is hardly recognized in any facet. When we hear statistics on the TV or the radio, we always hear the blacks, the whites, and the Hispanics as part of statistics of whatever part that they fit into our society. But we are forgotten people. We are those that have been brushed under the rug. Around the age of discovery, it's common knowledge that there was a document called the document of the Valladolid that begged to differ whether Native Americans had souls. And if they did, it was a debate to see if they were entitled to the basic human rights. And some months ago, very recently, a lot of our people are suffering from the homeless population here in Minneapolis area. I don't know if we have seen that. But one of the most disturbing images of my time there at the encampment was seeing a whole city of homeless First Americans, if that's what you want to refer that to. And then behind that stood three buildings that were constructed by the city of Minneapolis to cater and to accommodate to immigrants from other countries, while the original man had to sleep in tents, freeze, children freezing. And that was a disturbing image for me. It put me in perspective of where our people are at in this society. Whenever you look at images or reflections of the building of this country, it is always the cowboys and Indians that surface to the top. The very lady that sits atop of the White House of the dome is a Native American woman. Parliamentary procedure that filtrates through the Capitol and to the White House are all built upon Native American construction within our tribes, you know. And so today it just makes me happy that I hear somebody say, we want to thank the Dakotas, we want to thank the Ojibways, we want to thank the Ho-Chungatas. Because for so many years, you know, we walk on this earth and we feel like forgotten people. Today, my wife, she spoke about our daughter, one of the very first young women to be attacked and bitten by the Tiger Swan mercenary group that was dispersed onto the Standing Rock area during that time. She was instrumental in calling and bridging the gap with Reverend Jesse Jackson to come out to that Standing Rock area to take a look at what was going on there. And none of us knew because the media kept it shut down. They didn't want the world to know that this third world battle was happening in our own backyard. There is a chemical, in the water system that the fire departments use to shut down fires. It is a chemical that destroys the oxygen so that fire cannot breathe. And that chemical in the water that was sprayed on our people in Standing Rock that chemical was in that water. And our women, our children were suffering from breathing problems. These are biochemical warfare that was launched on our people. They had sound waves that were penetrating our minds, our ears. They had massive heat guns that they would aim into the crowds of our people. And any of us or any of the people that had surgeries and had metal implants in their bodies somewhere, that metal would heat up and burn us from the inside. This is what the United States government has done to our people because we are fighting for the water that we are all entitled to. We are fighting for you. This Veterans Day, I posted not just for the veterans, but for the water protectors as well, because they are in the most dangerous place, in the deepest part of our battles to protect the water for all of us. And so that is the reason why I say thank you for recognizing us, that way. We speak about overcoming racism. On the spiritual level, it is something, unfortunately, a lot of our old medicine people say, it is through the pipe that things can be changed. But unfortunately, what we speak about, is too far gone. It will take many generations for us to become a society of what we dream about. Unfortunately, even the youngest one of us will not live to see that happen. But it is in the works, and it starts today. My encouragement to each and every one of you, whatever color we are, find it in your heart, like my older brother, Orville Looking Horse, tells us, to be compassionate, to be understanding, towards each other. Open a door for somebody. And I know for myself, I'm one of those people that I'm really aggressive driver when I'm on the road. So I don't know how many times I've been told I'm number one, but I think that was the wrong finger. I'm driving, so we all have work to do, you know, and part of that is being honest about taking inventory on ourselves. They always say that stereotypes live for a reason. This is why my wife and I, my brother and I, we walk that sober life, because that is a stereotype amongst our people. We take care of that in our own homes. We put that away. Today I challenge you, each and every one of you, what is your stereotype of your people? And do our best to address that and to fix it, even if it's in our own home, amongst our grandchildren, our children. Carry yourself with dignity, respect for each other. That is a start, that is a beginning to overcoming racism in this country. Thank you.
Becky Montgomery is presenting a gift of sage and tobacco. We offer these gifts of tobacco and sage as a way of honoring your gift to us and gathering with us, drumming and singing, and the cleansing of our minds, bodies, spirits, and this space for today's conference. Thank you. Well, we won't take a lot of time, but this 3-minute orientation to your program may help you quickly use this as a resource today. The table of contents on page 2 guides you to today's schedule and information to help you navigate and choose your options throughout the day. You may recycle your program at the registration table at the end of the day if you're done with it. On page 7, it gives you an overview at a glance of all workshop sessions this afternoon. Full descriptions of content, presenters, and locations are on pages 22 through 25 for workshops that start at 12:30, and pages 26 through 29 for workshops that begin at 2:15. Be sure to have a second choice in mind should your first choice be full. There is one cancellation. Please note that. The title is Addressing Racism Through Circle Dialogue, held at 12:30 to 2 at session C. At lunchtime, you may select your lunch and beverage from a variety of choices available at 11:30 in New Main. I think that's where you have breakfast and refreshments this morning. It should be where lunch will be also. You may eat your lunch in there, in the Great Hall, or find any other place to sit and eat. There are seats all over campus, including the skyway that leads to the library. Throughout the conference, Ricardo Levins Morales will have his work available for purchase outside of Founders Hall Auditorium in the registration area. Thanks again to the Science Museum. Each of you should have received 2 free tickets to the museum so that you can experience Race, Are We So Different? See your program for details, and if you haven't received those tickets, they should be available at the registration desk. As always, your feedback on this conference helps guide our planning, so please look for an email early next week with a survey link to provide feedback to us. Please familiarize yourself with the written logistics for this conference community. Feel free to ask help from any of our FREC volunteers who are around in green shirts, like that one, and they will be able to help you. Thanks to all of our sponsors, keynoters, volunteers, committee members, and you for being part of FREC's 2019 Overcoming Racism Conference.
Again, our thanks to Virgil and the Midwacaton Sioux Singers in helping us experience the rhythm of the drum and song, and preparing our hearts, minds, and spirits to be fully present in this space we share today. Now, whether you were with us in the richness of our time today, our time together yesterday, or this is your first day at the conference, we are glad you are here this morning. You are in the right place. I would like to set the table for this morning with a brief recap of our time together yesterday, especially the morning with our keynote presentations by Professor Joe Fagan and Winona LaDuke. Our conference theme is, as you know, dismantling white supremacy, its power, structure, and cultures. We began with a presentation by Joe Fagan. Joe immediately reminded us of something we either often forget or just as likely never knew. White supremacy is both systemic and foundational within the United States. The first African slaves were brought to this country in 1619.
2019 is the 400th year since slavery began. You will notice no one is acknowledging or celebrating that milestone, which as Joe would have points out, comfortably fits with a whitewashed history we prefer to tell, in which white America is always virtuous. Never mind that George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and 40% of those who signed the U.S. Constitution were slave owners. Never mind that George Washington was a brutal overlord, extracting his slaves' teeth that he might have proper dentures. Never mind that our nation's capital was placed in the swampy area of D.C. because slaveholding was legal in that area. Joe reminded us that genocide and land theft of native peoples and brutal slavery are the foundation upon which the nation was born and upon which our Constitution is based. From 1607, when Europeans first arrived on these shores, up to today, a full 80% of this country's history was dedicated to overt, systemic racial oppression, which ultimately included all peoples of color. This is our hidden history. Joe shared with us how our racial oppression built the country's wealth and ultimately a white middle class. And that wealth has been and is transferred down from one generation of whites to the next, sustaining white supremacy and racial inequity. Joe went on to share the notion of the white racial frame, which at its core is a way of seeing the world that says white people, our culture, our music, food, expressions are all superior to peoples of color. It is a worldview that undergirds and reinforces white supremacy. Joe concluded by strongly encouraging us to aggressively be engaged in racial justice learning. Learn and organize are the two basic and primary tools we need for dismantling white supremacy and building a world that is life-giving for all. Winona LaDuke brought into this conference what Winona always brings: great wisdom, a powerful energy, and a generous spirit. In plain spoken language, Winona said she has spent a lifetime fighting stupid ideas. We sometimes get wrapped up in all the arguments on pro and con and whether we should do this or that. But sometimes we need to simply step back and be willing to say, as Winona said, that's a stupid idea. And I can't believe I actually need to speak out against it. Seriously, you want to take table water from southern Minnesota and ship it by rail to Arizona? That's a stupid idea. Winona shared with us the struggles and challenges of being a Native person, what she referred to as the Deep North, thereby poking and prodding our assumptions about the Deep South, reminding us we have our own issues right here in Minnesota. She told us the Native story about an evil spirit coming from the far north by the name of Wendigo. Wendigo was greedy and cannibalistic, consuming the very life of those this spirit encounters. Winona says the spirit of our present economy is the spirit of Wendigo, and there is no better example of that greedy, life-consuming spirit than line 3, seeking to bring dirty tar sands oil from Canada across the waters and the lands of northern Minnesota. The challenges are real, but Winona left us with no doubt that we are called to engage the struggle of white supremacy with hope, because we are seeds, and even if we are buried, life will spring forth. Finally, our morning concluded with a powerful spoken word by Jelly, a young Latina woman, freshman student at Augsburg College, and a dreamer. Her piece is entitled America. After unpacking the story of her mother's dreams, contrasting sharply with a racist reality, Jelly, this young dreamer, concluded with these strong words. Don't worry, child, because America is your home. Estoy en casa. I am confident that workshops continued for those who were here yesterday to fill your hearts, spirits, and minds. And now I trust we are ready for another day.
And now we're delighted to welcome as our morning keynote presenter, Amira Siddiqui, who is the co-director of Exposed Brick Theater. You will find a bio about Amira and Exposed Brick Theater on page 11 of your program. One of our early learnings in hosting this annual conference is that after a full day of left brain activity in which we thought deeply about the challenges involved in overcoming racism, we were by Saturday morning ready to engage in the creative aspects of a right brain. Both approaches are vital and important dimensions of the work we do together at this conference. In just a moment, we'll transition to American as Curry Pie and welcome Amira Siddiqui from the Exposed Brick Theater.
Ammi and Baba are fighting again. Ammi found out that Baba sent money home to his sisters in India again. They are shouting and fighting and fighting and shouting, and I want them to stop. Oh, my older brother, he's just looking in his cereal. He's looking hard, like he's trying to find something inside his Lucky Charms. They fight a lot since we moved to America. They fight a lot. अरे क्या जरूरत है हमें पैसे भेजने की? हाँ, तुम्हारे बीवी बच्चे यहाँ हैं और उनके भी मियाँ हैं. दिन भर मैं दूसरों के बच्चों की खातिर करती हूँ. मैं हेड मिस्ट्रेस हुआ करती थी और अब मैं बेबी सिटर बन गई हूँ. Why am I working so hard? हाँ, so you can keep sending money home to your sisters. Look how we live now. Used pots, used furniture. How much do we have to keep giving up so you can keep? अरे अल्लाह का शुक्र करो कि हमें 3 वक्त का खाना मिलता है. क्या करूं मैं? भूखा मरा हूं उनको. I've been sending that money for 12 years. I can't just suddenly stop. We don't live like that. How can we help them? We can't even help ourselves anymore. क्या तुम समझती हो कि ये आसान बात है मेरे लिए? अरे मैं दीन था और अब my advisor makes me organize books in a closet. I had to move boxes of books. Can you imagine? A few weeks ago, Baba came home from his classes at the university and he was upset, very upset. He sat with his head in his hands like this. And Ammi kept asking him, Are kya hua? Are we in trouble? Do we have to leave the country? And Baba just kept shaking his head. Finally, he said, Today, my advisor made me organize books in a closet. I had to move boxes of books. I used to be a dean. I had published articles. I never thought that I could ever become so low. I don't understand what moving boxes has to do with being low, but I can tell that Baba is sad. I look at my brother's cereal bowl. It looks like Sam's. Sam was our servant in Zambia, and he had plastic dishes that he was allowed to eat from after he came to clean our house and grind the meat. Ammi said that it was hard work, so he could eat the food that we didn't finish, but he had to eat from the old plastic dishes, the ones with the faded flowers. Now we eat from dishes like Sam's, not the nice Chinese dishes we had in Lusaka. Ammi and Baba come out of their room now. Now they're quiet. Too quiet. Their faces look like they're trying not to be angry, but if Baba was a cartoon, steam would be coming out of his ears. And Ammi is stirring the dal so hard, the spoon is making a loud clink, clank sound against the side of the used pots. Baba goes straight for the TV. I wanted to watch Little House.
We interrupt your regular programming to bring you the update on the hijacking of Air France 139. In a heroic mission now being called Operation Thunderbolt, Israeli troops have successfully ended the week-long hostage crisis in which 101 civilians were held in Entebbe, Uganda by Palestinian radicals known as the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Earlier today, Israeli paratroopers stormed the terminal where 101 hostages were kept, killing all 8 captors and numerous Ugandan soldiers.
All staged to gain sympathy from European countries. They were starting to show sympathy for Palestinians. Last week, some bad guys took a plane, and the bad guys were like Muslims or Arabs or something or whatever, but today the good guys got them. The next day, Asha auntie comes to talk to Ammi, and they talk in Fakey Boli. They think I don't understand, but I do. I just pretend I don't. That is how I found out that Baba's older brother was a drunk. Because Ammi and Baba always talked about him in Fakey Boli, and I understood. Mufuchko fo befeng chafana fahefe. Yife safari fi befesife, fapni fi befeno fo ko fo befej de fehefe. Befefe ka fa kafaunt ko fo olna fa chafati fi hu fo. Hava, chafallo fo. Asha auntie drives Ammi to the bank, where Ammi opens up her secret checking account, an account that Baba would know nothing about for a very long time. My friend Melanie's mother, Patty, is here to talk to Ammi. Patty called and said she wanted to talk to Ammi about a concern she had about me. Hey, what did you do to Melanie? Did you hit her? Did you steal? Did you swear? No, Ammi, I didn't do any. I don't know. I'm only here, Miss Siddiqui, because Melanie is very upset. She has cried herself to sleep for 3 nights now, and I wouldn't want this to happen to another child. And I was thinking that perhaps you could, in order to avoid something like this from happening again, perhaps you could explain to Ami how important he is to so many children. And many children find hope and happiness through him. Ami makes this face. Well, what I'm trying to say is that perhaps you could tell Ami that he lives in the hearts of children, and those who believe in him are the ones who experience him. Oh, Baba is grumbling at his radio in the other room again. It's something about Cairo and bacon in Cairo and a camp called David. Arey, what progress? This is not progress. Malcolm X ne kya kaha tha na? You put a knife 9 inches into my back and you pull it out 3 inches. That is not progress. Progress. My foot. Just Sinai is not progress. What about Gaza? What about all the refugees? What will happen to them? As I was saying, Santa Claus is a very important part of many American children's lives. And to shatter that fantasy is just cruel. This is weird. This is the first time that Patty's here to talk to Ami, and she's here to talk about Santa Claus. And he's a representation of giving and generosity. And are you asking me to ask Ami to lie? No, I would never ask a parent to ask their child to lie. And it wouldn't be lying to present it the way that I have presented it to you. That Santa lives in children's hearts, and if you believe him, he gives you experience. You will experience him. And by experience, you mean him falling in your chimney, eating cookies, leaving presents? Yes, I do. But that does not happen. Patty, he's not real. But he is. To so many American children, he is. Oh, he's not real, whether you believe in him or not. Well, I can see that you are against Christmas. So I will just leave it at that, and I hope that you think about what I have said and the impact of Ami's actions. And then she leaves, and now Ami's laughing, and I think I just lost my best friend. You see, this all started last week when Melanie invited me to go and see a play with her. And the play was at Melanie's church, and it was about Christmas. And before Melanie and Patty came to pick me up, Ami and Baba had a very important talk with me. Now remember, Jesus is not God. No, beta, he's a prophet, a messenger of God, a very special man. Now, remember, Muslims don't believe in idols. You can go and see this play, but you have to remember that Muslims don't believe in idols. That's right. So if you see that man with the nails and the blood and the cross, remember, that is not God, that is an idol. He didn't even look like that with fair skin and light eyes. And his birthday is not even December 25th. It's celebrated that day because of paganism. Even in the Bible, the vegetation around his birth suggests an entirely different season. Holy Mary, Mother of God, for Christ's sake! Why do they always have to ruin the fun? I just want to go and see a play. And I do. It's all about how Mary gets a baby in her belly without a husband. Yeah. Like Matt's mom. she got him in her belly without a husband. And in the play, they have to travel a very long way in a snowstorm, which is weird because even I know it doesn't snow there. But afterwards at Melanie's house, I'm swallowed by green and red bows and poinsettias and a giant Christmas tree decorated with snowmen and Santas and candy canes and angels. And they have Christmas welcoming mat and Christmas placemats and Christmas coasters and Christmas kitchen towels. They even have Christmas toilet paper. And on every table in every part of their house, there are these little manger thingies. And all of them have white Jesus, white Joseph, white wise men, white Mary. Baba was wrong. Jesus and his family are definitely white. Melanie and I have so much fun rolling out cookie dough and then cutting them into shapes of snowmen and Santas and candy canes and angels. Oh, and then we bake them and put frosting and sprinkles on them. They look so good and delicious. Hey, Melanie, when can we eat some? My mom said we can each have 2, but then the rest are for Santa. Santa? When he comes to my house on Christmas Eve, he will be tired and hungry from all his hard work and he will need a snack. There's no Santa. There is. I know there is, because on Christmas there's always presents and the cookies we leave out are always gone. Yeah, because your parents eat the cookies and they're the ones who leave the presents. Melanie starts to cry. What did I do? Ami, I think it is about time that I took you home. I was supposed to eat dinner here. Oh, now is not a good time to remind Patty of that. See, here's the deal. The Muslim parents that I know don't teach their kids how to lie about Santa Claus. And we just repeat what our parents teach us, just like everybody else. And in my house, this is what my parents taught me. Arey, Santa is a capitalistic ploy. And an invention of Coca-Cola. What sort of parents teach their children it's okay for a fat old man to come inside your house in the middle of the night? But the truth is, I wish I could believe in Santa Claus. I mean, how cool would that be? And we could have a Christmas tree, and Ami and I could make Christmas cookies, and I could sit on Santa's lap and drink hot chocolate with marshmallows like on all the TV shows and commercials. Nay, marshmallows haram hai. They have gelatin from pig's hooves. That is why we had to stop eating Lucky Charms. And Melanie said, maybe Santa doesn't come to your house because you're not good enough. He sees everything, you know, and maybe you should leave him cookies to show you're thankful. So, just to see, I wrote Santa a letter asking for a baby alive doll. I really wanted one. So, on Christmas Eve, I even left out some cookies. But Santa never came. And the next day was Christmas, but at our house it was just like any other day. And when Ammi saw the cookies I left out, she just shouted at me, "Arey, don't waste the babysitting cookies. I bought those on full price." After that, I decided, even if Santa is real, I don't like him anyway. He doesn't come to my house. Besides, I think he likes rich kids better because they always get more presents. And Melanie's wrong. I am a good girl. I don't sass back to my parents, and I pray 5 times a day. I pray, and I even fasted during Ramadan. But none of that matters to Santa. But I lie about him from now on anyway, because I don't want to lose any more friends. My older brother is walking slowly. He's moving differently, and he keeps touching the spot below his heart. It looks like he's staring at something far away. I look where he's looking, but I don't see anything. I don't see what he sees, the thing that makes him wince. Baba watches the news, as usual.
Iranian militant revolutionary activists continue to hold 66 innocent Americans hostage. They continue to demand the return of the Shah to Iran. The Shah is currently in the United States for treatment of cancer.
अरे क्या militant activists, university के students थे. They want the Shah to face trials for the human rights atrocities that he has committed with the backing of the CIA. I watch Ammi watch my brother. The lines in her forehead get deeper. 70,000 Iranians' blood is on his hands, and now US is protecting him, and they say nothing about their oil interests, nothing about staged coups, half-truths and lies. We got guppies. I wanted a pet, a puppy, but Muslims don't get puppies as pets because dogs are dirty animals, and so we don't get them as pets, so we just got fish. It's my turn to clean the fish bowl. My brother did it last week. There is a guppy floating on top of fishbowl sludge. I use my thumb and finger to grasp the bloated fish, but it keeps slipping away. I keep trying until I finally have it. Was it Yasmin or Tariq? I can't tell. They all look the same. Ammi, what should I do with this? She looks where my brother is looking. Does she see what he sees? What should I do with the dead fish? Lies. These people tell lies. Hypocrites. Toilet mein flush karo, Ammi tells me as she watches my brother move, touching his finger lightly to the spot below his heart. I watch my mother watch my brother. I hear my father. Biased. They are so biased, only giving limited information. When did the news stop being about the truth? That night, I can't eat the rice on my plate because I have a fishy smell on my fingers that I can't get rid of. Plus, I have cucumber burps because Ammi makes me eat 2 whole cucumbers for snack every day after school so that I will have fair skin and find a good husband. I want to vomit. My brother's just looking down at his plate, eating slowly. My older brother looks older today. Ammi puts her palm to his forehead. Tabiyat kharab hai beta? Nahi Ammi, just tired. I have a problem. Melanie is coming for a sleepover tomorrow, and I need to get a different family by then. I want a different family. I want a family that's happy and smiles over dinner and talks about their day. And I want a family that has a chair that matches their couch, not a chair that's covered in an old sheet to hide embarrassing tears. Oh, and I wish Ammi could make egg salad sandwiches and peas, plain peas like Melanie's mother, Patty. No, we eat okra and saag and drink only water. Oh, and then the next day, I get okra and saag sandwiches in my lunchbox, not bologna and Doritos like normal people. I mean, no one wants to trade with me. Besides, Muslims don't eat bologna. Bologna's pork. Pork's a dirty animal. Oh no. Oh no. What if Ammi makes okra when Melanie comes for a sleepover? She'll know we're strange. Eat, Ammi tells me. I feel sick, Ammi. That dead fish made me feel sick. Listen to your mother. I gag on my rice. Get my beta blockers, Baba tells my brother. My brother gets up and he winces. That night, I wake up in the middle of the night to count the money in my Sifikrafit Bafank Afak account. I get 10 cents a week for allowance, but sometimes I find coins in the couch cushions after we've had visitors, and I don't tell anyone. Afai hafaid the fa mafanni fi if in my fi Sifikrafit Bafank Afak account. Oh, I hear my mother sobbing. The hall light is on. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Who did this to you? Who did this to you? I opened the bedroom door a crack. My brother's in the hallway. His shirt is off. He has pink and blue and purple stains under his heart. Who did this to you, beta? Who did this to you? The older boys at school. Why? Why, beta? They say I'm like Khomeini. They say I take hostages. But you're only a boy. They kicked me down the stairs. Did you tell someone? Did you tell the headmaster? No. Tears fall down my brother's face now. Faster and faster, they keep falling. Why, beta? Why didn't you tell someone? They stuffed me in the garbage can. I couldn't get out. And then my mother stops crying. And she takes her dupatta from around her shoulders and uses it to bandage my brother below his heart. I stay hidden behind the door. I don't want them to know that I see. I don't want to see. My brother doesn't go to school the next day, and Baba stays home from his classes at the university to take my brother to the doctor. My brother has 2 broken ribs. Oh, Baba's on the phone with my brother's school. Baba looks like a storm about to happen. Detention. I see. And the parents will be notified. Ah, yes, I understand. Yes, you said that already. Thank you. Boys will be boys, he says. People are angry, he says. The hostage crisis is making people do things, he says. And in that moment, without my even knowing it, I learned that in the land of the free, there is a price to pay for being like us. You don't take communion. Yes, sister. You don't take communion. Sister Mary Frances, who looks more like a 13-year-old boy posing as a nun, repeats again in her furious church whisper. I want to tell her I heard her the first time she said it 2 months ago when my parents first transferred me to this school. Every Friday morning during Mass, it's the same thing. Just before Father O'Brien says the Eucharist prayer, Sister hisses at me, you don't take communion. I am here at Holy Cross Catholic School and Church because my parents seem to think it will keep me safer after my brother's whole broken rib incident. But at first, this forbidden communion made me all the more curious. What are those little disc-like wafers that Father O'Brien places on my classmates' tongues? I'm hungry, I need a snack. I want to ask one of my classmates to sneak one and bring it back for me. But then, a few weeks ago, in religion class, I learned about something called transubstantiation. And about how after Father says those things about Dominus, Spiritus, Culturibus, and that little bell rings, it is like a spell. And those wafers actually become the blood and flesh of Jesus. So now when Sister glares at me and says, you don't take communion, I'm like, that's okay, I'm quite all right. Not really in the mood to eat person today. But after all these weeks in Mass, I know the Lord's Prayer by heart. I also know Surah Fatiha, Surah Ikhlas, Surah Qasr, Surah Nas, a whole bunch of others, but none of that matters here. After Mass, we all file out of church and head on over to religion class. All of us wearing our green and blue plaid Catholic school uniforms. You know, I had no idea what a Peter Pan collar was until I started going to Holy Cross. Today, we will be learning about Mohammedanism. Sister Mark James says, looking right at me as if to say, we will be learning about your people. Wow, she's happy about it. I mean, she has the best of intentions, and I don't have the heart to tell her that there's no such thing as a Mohammedan. And who can tell me who Mohammedans worship? Ellen, Mohammed? That is absolutely right. That is absolutely wrong, but I don't actually say this out loud. Mohammedans worship Mohammed. And then Sister Mark James goes on to talk about Prophet Muhammad in a way that I had never heard before. I mean, it wasn't bad exactly, but it was definitely not good. She said, he was of a retiring nature and addicted to prayer and prone to epileptic fits. She was talking about him like he was that really weird neighbor that you didn't actually want to get to know because, well, who knows what he might do, right? I know I should say something. Muslims don't worship Muhammad. That would be shirk, and shirk is a sin. And Baba always tells me that when I hear falsehoods about Islam, that I need to speak up. That is my duty. That is the true form of jihad, and being silent would be a sin. But I've never raised my hand before in class. Sister, yes, Ami, go ahead. Allah, oh gosh, that is all that comes out of my mouth, and now everyone's just looking at me. Yes? We're called Muslims, not Mohammedans, and we worship Allah, which means God, not Muhammad. Oh. You might want to check with your parents on that, dear, because it says so right here in the text. No. Do you know what this says? No uniform day, March 17th, 1980. Wear your best St. Patrick's Day green. Damn it, I hate non-uniform day. The last time we had non-uniform day, all the girls at Holy Cross wore chick jeans and Izod shirts. I wore flower-printed pants that my mother sewed for me out of garage sale curtains that made me want to hang upside down from a tree and sing, "To a deer, a female deer." I don't own anything green, and there is no way that Ummi and Baba are going to drive me to the store just so I can buy something green for some day that's called St. Patrick's Day. Days like St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day and Thanksgiving and Easter don't even exist in my parents' world. They never slapped on shamrocks or put on party beads or set foot on a party bus and drank green beer. Besides, Muslims don't drink beer, green or otherwise. Beer is haram. But come Monday, all the kids at Holy Cross would be shedding their uniforms once again and donning stylish attire in green. And I don't have either stylish attire or green. But today is Friday. So that gives me exactly 65 hours to come up with an item of green clothing. I begin my search in my mother's closet. Oh, there's a green dupatta. It's a scarf that goes with the shalwar qameez. It's made of thin, papery green material and bordered with shiny green beads. Oh, but this is 1980, and scarves like this don't become cool until well into the next millennium. You know, when people get Om tattoos and sign their emails, Namaste. I was born in the wrong century. The scarf is all wrong. Arey beta, why do you need something green? Tumhara uniform hara hai na? Gee, Ammi, main janti hoon that my uniform is green, but it's non-uniform day. My parents just don't get it. They don't get anything. I try my brother's closet. Get out of there, imbecile. My brother is studying French in high school. Your clothes are ugly anyway, nerd. What am I gonna do? I need something green. I tried Baba's closet. Baba doesn't even notice me because he's arguing with his radio. Arey, what autonomy? There's no autonomy for them. Every day there are more and more settlements, or America keeps giving more and more money for more and more settlements. Ya Allah, kya hoga un logon ke saath? Baba's closet has a green tie. Headband? Everyone's just gonna know it's a tie. What am I gonna do? I need something green. Oh, I know. We had some green yarn. Maybe if I start now, I can knit a green sweater by Monday. Ammi taught me how to knit last year. I hope I can remember how. So, in the middle of the night, I go to the hall closet and I dig out some old green yarn and 2 knitting needles, and I begin knitting my St. Patrick's Day sweater. I have no idea how much time has passed, but when Ammi comes out of her room, the sun is coming up, and all I have is a green mess that can't even be used as a scarf. Kya kar rahi ho? Knitting a sweater? Ammi just shrugs and begins making her morning tea. Acha jao, Quran Sharif lao. I acquiesce, and I get the Quran. You see, Ammi makes me sit with her every Saturday morning and read the Quran in Arabic because it's farz. Isn't it a beautiful surah? Ammi asks me after I've stumbled through a page of Arabic. Gee, Ammi, I say, I agree because, well, I'll be in trouble if I don't. But the truth is, I don't get it. I don't understand the Arabic. She translates into Urdu, but I still don't understand. I mean, all I know is that if I do some things, Allah will be so happy that I will spend an eternity in paradise. And if I don't do some things, then Allah will be mad and I will spend an eternity in Hell. But I get bored and I make excuses. Oh, I have a stomach ache. Oh, I have so much to do, Ammi. I have a headache. Ammi really wants me to finish the Quran soon. You know, beta, Imran is only 7 years old and he's finished, and I already had a big Amin party for him. What will people say, beta, you're 12 years old and you still haven't finished? I don't have time for this. I have exactly 48 hours in which to knit a green sweater after completing all of my homework, which includes memorizing all of the stations of the cross. Jesus is condemned to death. Jesus is given his cross. Jesus falls for the first time. Acha, kyun itna fikr karti ho beta? Kuch aur pehen lo. Just wear that green shalwar kameez that I made for you last month. Jesus meets his mother, Simon of Cyrene. Simon of Cyrene carries the cross, and Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. My brother, now seated on the couch behind me, staring at a stain on our carpet, taunts. Le haricot vert, j'use mi vos dans chevaux, stupide. Jesus falls for the second time. Jesus meets the daughters of Jerusalem. Jesus falls for the third time. Are chodo ye ab. You've been knitting and knitting for hours and hours. Jesus is stripped of his garments. How can you be so worried about green clothes? People in this world have real problems. You know the sacrifices that we had to make? I had to move boxes of books. Jesus is crucified. I knit and I knit and I knit all through another night, but all I end up with is a strip of green, and I have to be on the bus in 2 hours. So I give up on the green, and I wear the only non-uniform item that I have that still fits me, a homemade red sweater vest that is so obviously homemade that it might as well just be cake. I walk in to my classroom, to all my classmates admiring one another's clothing. I just want the ground to swallow me up. Beth sees me take my coat off. She stares at my sweater vest. Why are you wearing that? Oh, are you Italian? When the shit hit the fan and the ground was caving beneath us, we had to drive to the U.S. Immigration Office in D.C. to make it stop. Dad's last job promised to sponsor him, but that promise never came through, and now we're sinking. Dad doesn't have a job anymore, and if it weren't for Ummy's secret bank account, we wouldn't even have the gas money to make this drive. Oh, Dad is plenty pissed since finding out about Ummy's account, and as they often do since he found out about it, they're having one of their nasty fights. You're a liar. What kind of wife betrays her husband like this for 8 years? Are the kind of wife that knows how to plan for a time like this. $1 bhi nahi rehta, you would have sent it all to your sisters and we'd be dead from hunger by now. What else are you hiding? Acha chalo chodo. And just like that, Ummi counts out the 8 pills that Dad takes for high blood pressure, heart disease, cholesterol, diabetes, and hands them to him with a thermos of water. I don't think the pills are working though, because Dad still walks around like a human pressure cooker most of the time. During the rest of the 5-hour drive, we barely say anything to each other. But Ummi breathes loudly, like it's hard for her to catch her breath. She's been doing this a lot lately, suffocating on nothing. And my brother, who keeps himself hidden at the university, is with us, staring out the window at nothing. And every once in a while, Dad will say, "What will happen to us? Where will the money go? Where will we go after the money is gone?" And this makes Ummi say a prayer. Allah ki marzi, Allah rahm kare. I sure hope her prayers are working, because if we don't get extensions on our visas today, then we'll be deported from the US for good and we'll have to go to India. But I don't know how to be Indian. Indian from India. I don't know how to be that. The car's tape recorder plays a cassette about Muhammad's migration to Medina.
When it became generally known that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam escaped, Quraysh announced an award for 100 camels, which was great wealth for anyone who would bring Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam back to them, dead or alive.
I just wish I could listen to my new synchronicity tape, but I don't have one of those cool new Walkman things like most of my friends, so I just listen to the songs in my head. But it's my destiny to be the king of kings. Oh, and as we make this drive to the U.S. Immigration Office, I try to write my influential American history paper. This is a paper that's supposed to be about a famous American, dead or alive, that has influenced my life in some way, and it's due in 2 days. We got this assignment over a month ago, and all I have written is the American that has influenced my life is. I can't think of anyone. I can't think of a single person. This is the hardest assignment that I've ever had. And all of my friends have thought of really cool people to write about. Like Jenny wrote hers on John Lennon. Yeah, I know. She was able to convince Mr. Daniels that had John Lennon not been shot in 1980, he would have become a citizen by 1981. And technically, since it's 1983, John Lennon is a very famous dead American. Zoe did hers on Gloria Steinem. That is Zoe's mom's favorite person. Zoe's mom is really proud of the fact that she doesn't own a single bra. Lisa did hers on Joan Baez. Joan and Lisa's mom attended college together and protested stuff together, but I can't think of anyone. I can't. My parents didn't attend Woodstock or protest Vietnam, and they don't listen to American music or recite American poetry, and they certainly don't appreciate American feminists. I mean, once I wrote a paper about Susan B. Anthony for social studies in 5th grade. Dad read it and said, "Are Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, already granted women the right to vote over 1500 years ago. These people are so behind." Muhammad, Mahatma Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Amitabh Bachchan, Rekha, Mehdi, Ghalib, Iqbal, Begum Akhtar. These are the famous names that I hear about. But I try to look at the bright side. If we get deported today, this paper won't matter, right? The immigration office is filled with people and lines, people from all walks and shades. There are no seats available, so we end up standing. I think I hear like 37 different languages spoken in the first 10 minutes that I'm there. The air is a mixture of fear and hope and tension and desperation. Well, it's just like home, only magnified like 10 times. And mixed in are the aromas of the multi-national cuisine lunches that people have brought with them, because we've all been warned about the 5-hour wait that lies ahead. After what seems like forever, it's finally our turn to meet with an immigration officer. Ammi and Dad both say a prayer, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Allah rahim kareh. And then the four of us crowd into the office of a very business-like immigration officer who holds our entire future on his desk. He does a 5-second scan of the paperwork that took Dad weeks to prepare. There appears to be no reason to extend your visa. It appears that you are trying to stay in this country permanently. Wasn't that the point of the immigration office? And just like that, within 5 minutes, her application is denied. Afterwards, we just sit in our car without a clue of what to do next. My heart starts pounding out of my chest, and Ammi does her suffocation breathing, and my brother looks out the window, and Dad cries. He cries. Afterwards, we meet Dad's old boss in a diner. Ed, is there no way that you can sponsor us now? You know, this was one of the conditions under which I accepted this position 3 years back. Look, I am sincerely sorry, Dilnawaz, but the fact of the matter is, well, the truth is, we didn't really know what went into sponsoring someone at the time, and you're not employed with us anymore, so there's not anything that we can do, but I'd be happy to give you the name of a really good lawyer. Why? So that we can sue the country? And here is where my life takes this odd Bollywood trajectory. A man sitting at a table nearby hears Dad and Ed talking, and when he hears Dad's name, he walks over to our table in slow motion even, and asks, "Are you Dr. Dilnawaz Siddiqui?" "Yes, I am." "The Dr. Dilnawaz Siddiqui who developed a human resource development plan for developing countries?" "Yes, I am, that's me." "I would like to meet with you. Can we meet?" And the next day, we find out that this man has a job for Dad and that Dad is the only suitable candidate for that position because of his specific research in the area. For months, we hoped for a miracle, and it came in the form of a stranger in a diner that had read my dad's name in some academic journal. 6 months later, we're back in the immigration office to turn in our green card applications. And 6 months after that, they come in the mail, and they say, "Resident Alien" on the front. I got an F on my influential American history paper. I didn't actually turn one in. There was so much going on, and Mr. Daniels, he just didn't get it. But the truth is, I still can't think of a famous American figure that I would have felt moved to write about at the age of 15. Okay, so we're going to fast forward a little bit in the story, about 8 years, before we pick it up in just a little bit. But there's a few things that you need to know about that happen in those 8 years. So the first thing is that I end up going to college in a small western Pennsylvania town called Clarion. My dad's a professor here, which means I live at home with my very strict Indian Muslim parents, which makes for a very interesting college experience. Secondly, with the help of my own secret bank account, I am able to go to Penn State University to pursue my master's degree. While at Penn State, I meet another graduate student named Tom. Tom is studying meteorology, and Tom and I share so many differences. But for not many good reasons, at the end of my graduate program, I married Tom because of some common misconceptions like, "Oh, but people are people. We're all the same deep down inside, right? And why focus on the differences?" And my parents no longer speak to me. I got a letter from Ummi today, if you can call it that. I mean, we haven't actually spoken since I married Tom, and she told me that I was dead to her. But she sends me these envelopes containing photocopied scripture about sin and hell. They always end the same way. I'm praying for you, Nargis, her name. Not I'm praying for you, Ummi, but Nargis. There seems to be a lot of praying going on these days. Tom found Jesus. And now he prays for me too. He prays that I will accept Christ into my heart. He says if I accept Jesus, then Jesus will be able to fill this emptiness that I've been feeling. This is my life now. Most of the time it doesn't feel like my life, you know? I mean, it's like I'm stuck inside one of these. And if you look closely enough, it makes you ask, how did she get in there? I have a giant Christmas tree. It's decorated with snowmen and Santas and candy canes and angels. Tom and I cut that tree down ourselves, and then we drank hot chocolate with marshmallows afterwards. I have a pot roast in the oven, potatoes on the stove, and peas, plain peas, in a pan. In fact, in the last 9 months that I've been married to Tom, I haven't cooked a single Indian meal because Tom says he likes normal American food. Normal. Things couldn't be more normal. I have always wanted this normal, but now I have it, and I feel more like an outsider than I ever have before. I don't know. I mean, maybe I should go see a counselor. Do they have counselors, though, that can treat what I have? I am a foreign exchange student in my own life. Is there a pill to fix that? The thing is, even if Ummi and Dad had let us have a Christmas tree and drink hot chocolate with marshmallows, it wouldn't have felt like this. Because what's missing aren't things that you see. It's the smell and sound of life. It's a rhythm you know and feel, a cadence to your existence. It's a different kind of grace. Oh God, I am not this girl. But I am not that girl either, the one from before. I am the girl who left a home in search of a different normal. Who broke her parents' heart and changed her relationship with that home forever. I am not this or that. So now, where do I go? When I was in the 3rd grade, I had a teacher tell my parents that I had issues with selective hearing. Obviously, she hadn't watched a news program in the presence of my dad. My dad had the ability to filter news stories like nobody else. Here's what I mean. The broadcast could be about something extremely vital, like...
Good evening. We'd like to alert all of our viewers of a very disturbing development regarding an escaped convict and serial killer who is on the loose in your city.
Yeah, Dad would be totally unfazed.
He is carrying a machete and is now on your street.
No reaction whatsoever.
He's looking for the apartment of an Indian man named Siddiqui and would like to steal his children.
Still nothing. But the second the news correspondent said,
Middle East, Palestine, Israel, Iran, Arab, Muslim.
Dad's ears would literally perk up, and he would turn up the volume on the news, and he would hone in. But I think I get it now, because every damn time I turn on the television, this is what I hear.
WMDs and WMDs and WMDs. WMDs, WMDs, Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein and 9/11.
What?
W and M and Ds. We'll bring you more about WMDs and 9/11 and Saddam Hussein after this message.
I am sure that there's other news on, but this is what I hear, and I can't believe the blatancy of it. They are basing this war on half-truths and lies. When did the news stop being about the truth? Oh. Ironically, it's in the aftermath of 9/11 that Dad and I have found some commonalities. I mean, it helped that I left Tom, but given our current political landscape, we have a lot to talk about, and we would have a lot more to talk about in coming years. Like, we would joke about how he and I were both randomly screened at every single airport that we happened to be traveling through for over a year. So random. Yeah, Dad, what are the odds? 100%, apparently. And you know, beta, the troops had already been deployed to Afghanistan before 9/11. I sent you that information. Did you read it? Yeah, Dad, and did you read that book by Howard Zinn that I sent you? Oh, I already had a copy, so I passed your copy on to our neighbor, Ken. We would talk about how scared we were about talking about politics on the phone. You know, beta, you never know with the Patriot Act who's listening and how they will twist and edit things for their own purposes. 742 men were detained after 9/11 just because of their religion. We talked about the absurdity of how Yusuf Islam was deported from the US on his way to see Dolly Parton. Apparently his name was on a no-fly list. Oh yeah, see, Dad, he never should have changed his name. No one would have deported a guy called Cat Stevens. And we outraged about a dear family friend who was sentenced to 22 years in prison for providing rice to starving children. I mean, no crime in that, right? Unless those kids are Iraqi, with legal sanctions and all. And we talked about how unfair it was that Dad and Ummi and all of their dinner guests were interrogated by the FBI, who demanded that they produce papers on the spot. A neighbor saw women with their heads covered and men with beards entering our house and reported a suspicious gathering. When the agents came, we just gave them tea and samosas. Our deep conversations are limited to U.S.-Middle East relations, foreign policy, and the experience of Muslim Americans in this country. We don't talk about the play that I'm writing about patriarchy and religion, or the play I'm acting in at Dyke Night. We certainly don't talk about the man that I am seeing in Chicago. But, you know, this is further than I ever thought we would come. Proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the U.S. I am at my naturalization ceremony, and we're singing this song. people from 103 different nations, women wearing hijabs, women wearing saris or waving tiny American flags and singing and watching a video montage of steel mills and wheat and corn and mountains. I don't know American things. I have no idea how I know the words to this song, but I don't care because I just became an American citizen and I can vote. 30 years after setting foot on American soil, I can vote. And the nation is swelling with talk about how a senator from Illinois named Barack Hussein Obama, may be the next Democratic presidential candidate. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone. Everyone except Dad, who can't speak. I want so badly to get his take on all of this, but I can't. 3 months ago, Dad got a flu shot. 2 weeks after that, he became numb. Literally, he's paralyzed from neck down. He's on assisted breathing because his lungs are paralyzed. Even his vocal cords are paralyzed. He has something called Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's an autoimmune disorder, a rare reaction to some vaccines, in which your body just turns against itself. But there's hope, because there's a 95% recovery rate. So I am hopeful, and I can't wait for Dad to be able to tell me what it was like for him to be paralyzed from neck down and unable to speak, because I am guessing for a man who loves to express his opinions about stuff, this has got to be torture. And in no time, he'll be able to give me his blow-by-blow on this Obama guy in the next election. You know, actually, I know exactly what he would say. Doesn't matter who's in office, Democrat, Republican, foreign policy will remain the same. Troops will continue to move to the Middle East. This has always been the plan. I never got to hear my dad speak again. He died 3 weeks after I got my citizenship. I was pregnant with my first daughter at the time. We all made it back to be with him when he left us. Even Kishore, uncle, traveled all the way across the country to be at my father's bedside. Kishore, uncle, was Dad's first Indian friend in the United States. They had met 31 years before in a grocery store. Dad's death came as a surprise to all of us, except Ammi. She knew the end was near when he stopped wanting the news on in his hospice room anymore.
o'clock on the East Coast, we can report history. Barack Obama is projected to be the next president of the United States of America. Listen to the crowd in Grant Park in Chicago.
Did they? Is he? What I am experiencing right now can only be described as out of body. I quickly update my Facebook status to Amira is floating, and I watch as the new first family takes the stage in Chicago. I never thought that this was possible. Fields and streams of men and women, grown men and women, are weeping with a joy that I have never before seen. And in their faces, in their hope for change, I see an America that for the first time feels like it could be mine. I voted today, and today I live in an America where a man named Barack Hussein Obama is president, a biracial, multi-ethnic man whose family is more like mine than most Americans. And as I watch my biracial, multi-ethnic, interfaith child lay asleep, it hits me. This will be her first president, her first real president. And because of that simple yet complex fact, her America will be different than the one I came to, right? Right? I mean, she'll have someone to write about in her influential American history paper. And then I hear Dad's voice. Are, keep in mind, you still live in an America where the citizenship of this man was questioned because of the color of his skin and the unfamiliarity of his name. You still live in an America where a person can be accused of being a Muslim. Oh, thanks a lot. Way to ruin a moment, Dad. Yeah, that's not my dad's voice at all. That's my own. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You can stay. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You were an amazing audience. My name is Amira Siddiqui. This is part of my one-woman show. Why don't you talk while I catch my breath and tell them a little bit about this?
Great. Hi, my name is Susie Messerol, and I am the other half of Exposed Brick Theater. I'm the other co-artistic director. What you saw today is an hour excerpt of a longer two-act piece from Americanist Curry Pie. And so that's why you got to see that moment where Amira was like, okay, we're going to fast forward. So we fast forwarded so that we could show you the whole show from beginning to end, but there's a few scenes that we left behind along the way. And then the first thing that we wanted to do, because Amira and I are going to facilitate a post-show discussion, is to think about a moment in the piece that really moved you or impacted you. So think about a moment from the show that really resonated or impacted you. And I'm going to give you a minute to just think about that moment.
Okay, so there's a lot to think about. Why don't we get some thoughts? What's resonating with you? What do you remember? What stuck out for you? Yes.
The part that moved me the most, or that I had the strongest emotional response, was when you were married to Tom. and the incredible loneliness of being told that your food wasn't normal, and that you didn't have your family, you didn't have the dominant culture, and just how alone you were in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And, a little bit about that. So, like, I grew up all over the world, but in the United States, I was in smaller areas. So, like, upstate New York and then western Pennsylvania. And so I was usually the only one like me pretty much anywhere that I was going. So I always call it like this gaslighting that I had experienced about what was normal and what I was supposed to be like, that I kind of, went along with, and learned a difficult way that, no, even if I'm going to act that way, and even if I'm going to take on this life, it's not going to feel like it's mine. And so, yeah, definitely it was a very, very lonely period in my life. There's a hand way in the back.
I'm coming. No, it's all good.
Hi, thank you for your performance. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
I think the thing that stuck out most to me was the Catholic school story.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to Catholic school, but I was raised Christian, but just thinking about the opposite experience. So I had an actual brother teach my religion class, and he inspired the love of other religions for me. So especially Islam. So, I mean, he was adamant about, respect other religions. He had such great admiration for the way he spoke about the Prophet Muhammad. And it just, for me, expanded my viewpoint in love and respect of other faith traditions.
Well,
so that moved me to feel like kind of sad about that.
Yeah, and it's so good to hear that there was somebody that taught it in that way. I want to talk about that scene. I'm glad that you brought it up. The narrative, unfortunately, still remains controlled by people that want to. They might not teach that it's Mohammedanism, and they might not teach that, but the impact of that narrative we see today, right, in our policies in and outside of this country. And so I wanted to talk about, I'm glad that you brought that up, because there is a way that we can sort of dismantle who controls that narrative, and how we can inform ourselves about things that maybe we don't know a lot about, to address this how white supremacy controls narratives, and that structure is able to control narratives. And that was sort of a through line in the piece, especially when it came to my dad, right? Well, thank you for that. Yes. Okay. Yes, microphone.
I will pick one of the points just to talk about, and the one that I thinking about is Santa, and just the whole mythology in the forming of the mind, and how important that is for kids, because we all have an impact on kids that we have contact with. Mm-hmm. And so throughout the story, there were many points about forming the mind, mm-hmm. and what people think and the way they think. And so that was one of the important points.
Thank you. Thank you. I think about this. I'm glad you reacted positively to the Santa, to having that Santa story in there. I have had stories where usually grandmas are really, really upset that I told Melanie about Santa accidentally, and why do you need to criticize our traditions? Why do you need to? Why can't you uphold our traditions? Why can't you just find something that you can say that won't destroy that mythology for our children? And I always try to remind people that, look, it was her mother that came into our home that told my mother what I wanted to say. And again, it was that controlling that narrative piece, right? Who gets to control the narrative? And what happens when you come up against that narrative, you know? And how in the end, because I was afraid to be an outcast and to not be accepted and to lose friends, that I did end up lying about it. And it didn't feel right to me. I mean, it actually to this day still feels like lying or pleading the fifth sometimes, where I'm just like, okay, I'm not touching that one, you know? Hand here and then hand there, yes.
Well, when I grew up, I never heard about the Chinese Exclusion Act or the gold mining tax, which was the first ethnic tax in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad was sponsored by Hubert Humphrey in the 50s for citizenship because he could not become a citizen before that, even though he came when he was like 6 or 7 years old. And then it got extended to the Japanese. So when you mentioned naturalized, that was interesting because it shows that you're a lot younger.
Yeah.
But that was the problem with not knowing the history because it was so selective in terms of what I knew. So I integrated my schools all the way through college almost because there were so few Asians here.
Yeah.
But that's why I could identify with when you're alone and everybody says this is normal, but you know it's not normal for you.
Right, right. Or you feel like it should be, and why doesn't it feel normal? And there's that whole struggle that happens, especially when you are not seeing anyone else or anything that reflects you in any way, ever. Yeah. Another hand here.
I was really struck by the story of your near deportation. It's very poignant right now. And what really got to me was at the end, almost a little throwaway line that your teacher just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like here you almost had your whole life uprooted. And the teacher just didn't get it.
No, the teacher had no idea about immigration policy. The teacher had no idea that what deportation would mean to an entire family who hadn't lived in that country for a very long time. And I sometimes wonder, like, how different is it really today, you know? And I'm gonna give you all a question to talk about as a group, but a little bit of background about why I wrote American as Curry Pie. I was trying to make it as an actress in this town, you know? And yeah, good luck, thank you, right? Right. And I mean, like acting and writing and being an artist is in my blood because my family in India are poets, writers, performers, producers, and whatnot. But so that was, to me, it felt like it's in my DNA. But trying to make it here as a South Asian, African-born, Muslim immigrant woman of color in this country, in the theater sector, what I was confronted with was invisibility, just complete invisibility. And so just in order to try and create even one narrative that somewhat reflected me, I realized that I was going to have to write my own work. And what I realized while I was writing American as Curry Pie and after performing it as well is really at its core what American as Curry Pie is a story about navigating these intersectional identities in a world and society that centers whiteness so fiercely and what that's like. So I thought in the context of this conversation, it would be really, really good for you all to sort of talk about that and find examples in the play of where you saw the characters, me, my dad, even some of the non-family members, dealing with the centering of whiteness. So maybe in groups of 3 or 4 or in your rows, if you can turn to your neighbor and find some examples of how whiteness was centered and what the impact of that was on the characters. I'll give you a few moments to do that. Okay. Awesome. Okay. 10 minutes?
Yep.
Okay, okay.
I'm just going to be over there if that's
All
cool.
right, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. I want to hear what you all are talking about. Yes, we have a hand. Okay. We have a hand right in the middle. Does someone have a microphone? Yes, you got it, Sequoia. Okay. What'd you talk about?
Well, for me, I'm Jewish, half Jewish and half Christian, with all and I was born in 1950, and when I was in public school in a suburb of Chicago, the kids were probably 75 to 90% Jewish, most of us.
Yeah.
And in the public school, we did all the Christian stuff. We sang Christmas carols, all these things that you had to do. And on Jewish holidays, I didn't grow up Jewish, and on Jewish holidays, the Jewish kids would be absent. But it wasn't an official holiday, and it hit me like, bam, right between the eyes. Being not Christian in this country is as impactful as being a person of color, or to people. So I have white privilege, but inside I've got all this pain about that disconnect.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let me ask you in the audience, how different is it really today when you talk about which there's an intersectionality of whiteness and Christianity, and that's not to denigrate any religion, but it's something that we need to be aware of, that there is a religion that gets privileged, right? Yes. And it's something, we can't separate that from whiteness. We just can't. And so, so how different is it? What's changed? I mean, there might be some things that have changed, and there might be some things that have stayed the same around that, right? So we maybe have some more awareness, right? We have more awareness. We've got teachers in schools or people in the workplace who are saying things like, nope, we're not going to schedule this because it's Yom Kippur, or it's Eid, or it's Ramadan, right? But that is in the control of individuals. It is not in the control, it is not in the system, right? So we might have some knowledge, and it's at the whim of whoever is leading that movement or whatever to even know about it, A, and then do something about it, B, right? So what do we do? Yes? Oh.
I would like to hear from other people, especially people of color in this audience. What do you think about, oh, thank you. Okay, so my question is, and especially for the people of color in this audience, because the ones that are experiencing this. At least in my school district, there is no more celebration of any kind of religious holiday. Now, of course, Christmas is a day off. Good Friday is a teacher workshop day, but you know, there's no more Christmas plays. You know, there's no Halloween anymore. So it's, from my perspective, it appears that the school district is trying to take Christianity out of the schools. I guess my question is, does it make a difference to you?
There's a hand? Yes? Yeah. Right here. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for your performance. It was amazing.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start with some of the things that really resonated with me, because I'm also an immigrant, and so I really resonated with you being a child and like trying to battle these two cultures that you're dealing with, and coming home and just being like, what's American about my home, and like, how can I be more American to please my friends at school?
Yeah.
Or like, you know, all of these things that you wouldn't see at school because you were different. So yeah, I remember growing up and kind of trying to, you know, become more American to be more accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And then another piece that, part of the play that really resonated with me was when you were in the immigration office and just realizing that even though you had, you know, done all of these things during your life to become American, you still, I mean, to me, like, it still feels like a betrayal from the country that, you know, is supposed to be your home now.
Absolutely.
And with like current situations and everything, you know, with various groups of immigrants trying to come to the U.S. right now, and it's just, it's such a struggle. And so that's why I identified with those two moments, just those two things. But to go back to the point about like schools and the whole Christianity like revolving around the entire culture, I think it helps that, you know, school districts are trying to honor other holidays, all of these things, to get rid of holidays that are just with the Christian calendar. But also, I used to work in schools, and I remember all the pushback, especially from white teachers,
Mm-hmm.
white faculty, who in the lunchroom, I would hear them say, you know, like, well, why can't our kids do this? They used to be able to, you know, like ask for candy in classrooms. What's so hurtful about that? All of these little microaggressions that you think as a white person, like, well, this is just the way it is, or it has been, or how can we be hurting these kids when we're just, you know, simple traditions or
Doing
whatever.
what's normal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as a person of color and growing up in this system, I always thought, yeah, like, well, why are we talking about Jesus in school when, like, you know, not everybody's Christian, obviously. And I don't think that it's actually getting better. I think because with all the pushback from all the white people, like, the system is just kind of being...
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I want to real quick say that there are convenient changes, and then there are the inconvenient changes. For who? We got to ask who's being inconvenienced, right? Oh, there's so many hands, so I'm going to let you all talk. And no, I'm so glad. Yes. Here, and then there, and then there, and then there. Yeah.
Mayor, we have one up here.
Oh, we got one there. Okay.
Hi, the moment that impacted me was when you talked about finding an American hero and how that was hard to do. So I wanted to share a story about my son. We had recently moved off of the reservation, the Mille Lacs Band reservation. We moved to not too far, we had moved to Princeton. And so my son, who was in 5th grade, was the only brown-faced, beautiful brown face in his class. And it was Christopher Columbus Week at school. And it was, every student was required to talk about how Christopher Columbus was a hero. And they all had to do a presentation on it and do this big poster board and just get up and do a presentation in front of the class. And when it got to him, he had, before this, had gone to Nehashing, our tribal school. So he knew all about Christopher Columbus. So needless to say, he didn't feel he was a hero. And so when it came up to his turn, he told the teacher that he wasn't a hero and why. And so he got suspended.
What?
Yeah. So it was pretty sad. So we had the superintendent and everyone in there, and he got an apology, but I don't know if they stopped doing that after, but that's how I kind of related to that, and it was really sad for me and him. So I just want to share.
And that is, again, another example of how whiteness gets centered, privileged, and anyone who is coming up against it faces ramifications, right? Yeah.
I got 3 stories, and I'll be quick, okay? St. Patrick's Day. I dressed up as green, and I went to school, and they said, well, you can't be Irish. So I went home, Mommy, Daddy said, so you don't, we might be black appearing, but you got some white, you ain't Irish. But, I wasn't red hair, etc.
Right.
So therefore, I could not be Irish. Third thing that you can answer is like, okay, what do you hope for? And I'll just sit down. There's many things you can say, but I just thought, I want to be American. I'm not sure what I am. I mean, I've been told I went with the Black Power movement, so I went to Africa, and that wasn't me. I couldn't be me in Africa. I came back here. So it's a challenge. How can you raise a whole child and appreciate everybody? I suppose that's the question. I love myself now, but going through all the turmoil of 20 years and all that sort of stuff. But it was difficult.
Yes, absolutely. And that whole identity formation piece, right? In a culture where you're invisible or that doesn't reflect you in anything, in culture, in education, in the legal system, in the immigration system, none of it is centered to benefit you, then it's very hard to form that identity. You had a hand, oh, there's a hand there, and then a hand here too. And then I think we have like 2 minutes, right? Yeah. Oh, no.
Thank you, Amira. It's like super cool. And thank you to everyone who shared. And Roberta and I talked yesterday, so it's hilarious. I wanted to share that I don't have that much time. I was born in Minnesota, but grew up in Nigeria. My father's Muslim, my mom is Christian. So sometimes a little bit we were sort of off, even when we grew up in Lagos. And I remember always being like, yeah, I'm Muskris or Christmas, and I remember when I heard about Judaism, I'm like, yeah, that's what we are. We would celebrate Christmas and all of that, and then we would do Eid. We didn't fast because my dad was like, whatever. And then it was just funny too, and my dad would eat pork, and we were like, oh no, we're not supposed to share that outside, but he loved his pork chops. He loved his pork chops. But I think the interesting orientation for me over the first real visceral reaction I remember to like the differences in our religion with my parents was when I chose to become Muslim at 11, and I was studying. In our school, we were allowed to have like Islamic religious studies and Christian religious studies, and I'm sorry that they only called religion that. So, and so at least that was cool, and it makes sense. Nigeria is sort of like that. But when my mom heard, she like lost her mind. She's like, you cannot decide your religion until you're 18. And I'm like, because I didn't choose yours, but yeah. But it's funny, fast forward, of course, I am Christian now. And I remember making that decision and sort of feeling funny about it, because I'm like, I'm sure between my dad, we're both surprised. And also now, just even in my faith. Like the other day, I told my brother, he lives in London, I'm like, can you buy me a tasbih and a prayer mat? You know, I miss my paternal grandmother and all of that. And the last thing I would say is, I can't share too much of, I can't attribute too much, but a loved one of mine, so I have dual citizenship, and I love that, because I know when, there's a lot of privilege in my life, because I know when to go back and forth, and where to use things like that, and I'm only just picking them out, but a loved one of mine had to choose to let go of their other nationality because of due process and how things are. And it hit me, and I was just like, what? And I mean, like, that had never been a thing. It just happened recently, and there were some things that were surrounding that, and I was like, I don't even know how you can go about that, you know, so. But the last thing I will say is I just loved the moment where we were talking about, when you said about whiteness, we loved the moment. Then it said, where there was no whiteness was when your parents were giving tea and samosas to the whatever,
agents,
the agents. Because we're like, we're like, yeah, cool. You want tea? You want, and I'm sure they were embarrassed too, like the agents, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pretty much what happened, yeah.
Hello, I won't say much because of time, but first of all, I want to thank you for your play. I think you had so many parts that resonated with a lot of us, so thank you very much. To just answer the question a lovely lady there asked about taking out your Christian beliefs from the school system, would that help us? I will speak for myself, that would not help us, because you giving up on your way of life would not make us any happier.
That's right.
What I would say is, you know, because we know how it feels to give up on a part of you to be accepted by others. So I would say go ahead and celebrate your way of life, your religion, your faith, whatever. Live your way, you know, however you want to live, but allow us to celebrate ours also.
Yes. Thank you. That is, no? Okay, so I'm so sorry. So that is exactly it, right? Decentering whiteness does not mean erasing all culture, erasing all religion. It means making a multicultural, all-inclusive culture. And I want to leave you with this. So there was another through line. My dad really, really cared about foreign policy because he, much like Malcolm X and W.E.B. Du Bois, believed that it isn't just white supremacy inside this country, it's white supremacy outside this country. And it is the same movement. So when we say we're protecting American interests outside of the United States, we got to think about what that means and have that inform your decisions when you're voting and when you're choosing legislators and senators and congresspeople. So thank you very much. Thank you.
So you might want to hang on. I have a couple of quick announcements that might impact where you're going to go this afternoon. And again, thank you. That was powerful, Amira. So there's a cancellation of a workshop called Dismantling White Supremacy with Black Liberation Poetry. That will not be happening. And there is one that is changed, so it's happening, but in a different space. And it's called Co-Teaching as an Anti-Racist, Culturally Sustaining Pedagogy. And instead of being in the Science Center 115, it's going to be in New Main, room 214, lower level. All right, just one more thing, just to restate, this conference only happens because of committed volunteers, and our capacity to strengthen this important racial justice work is directly related to all those who volunteer. And that includes, of course, those folks running around with green shirts today. Our thanks to all of you. And all the folks that, when we finish this conference today, we meet again in November and begin planning for the conference for 2020. So it's a full year of labor, and our capacity to do this and do it well is directly related to folks who are willing to give of their time and energy and skills. So if you are interested, please join us for monthly meetings held on the third Thursday of each month. And the location for that we gave yesterday. It'll also be posted on our website. Again, lunches be picked up in the Great Hall, and you are free to eat wherever you choose to eat. Thank you so much for being with us here today.